So this is a bit tricky now, isn't it? The pain saying don't feel emotions. You've got to avoid emotions. The very emotions that we use to reject our facade are emotions we have to reverse in order to accept our facade. And yet the pain is saying don't feel any emotion. Now, can you feel why it's so hard to accept your facade? Because you have to process through many of these emotions to accept your facade. And if you don't, you won't accept it. And if you don't accept it, you can't progress to the next step, which is to begin deconstructing it. So many of you are in this state where you're not accepting your facade. You're rejecting your facade. You believe you don't have one, or not much of one. You don't believe the situation is as bad as it really is. In fact, for many of you, you don't think there's a situation at all. It's like normal. It's like, they call it, you're cruising at a level, not changing. It's normal for you to have the facade's normal. So rejecting it is important to us. So Laura?
This might sound a bit silly, but the whole talk that we're doing, accepting the facade, are we talking like we accept it and we shouldn't, or
no?
Should accept it?
I'm saying you should accept your facade, and most of you are completely rejecting you even have one.
Because I know that God can't love our facade, because we learned that in the assistance group, that God can't love the facade. So, but there's another quality that we give ourselves in our facade that's not love but acceptance. Is that what?
Well, no, love accepts the truth, does it not?
Love accepts.
If you
the
love
truth.
yourself, you would accept the truth, would you not?
Yes.
So an act of love of self is to accept the facade, because you actually part of love of self is accepting the truth about yourself. And if you have a facade, you need to accept the truth about it.
So acceptance means like just acknowledging that it's there?
Not only acknowledging it's there, but it's there. Stop punishing yourself for it. Stop blaming others or yourself for it. It's just there. It's how it is right now. Sure, there's a whole heap of choices in the past you could have made that might have made it better, but you didn't, right? So stop punishing yourself for the fact that you didn't make a choice 5 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever. Stop punishing yourself that, you've got all of these issues. The state of the facade is the way it is. Stop blaming yourself or other people for it. Stop minimising it, excusing it, justifying it. Stop lying about it. Stop all of these things. An act of love is to actually stop all of those things and start going, I have it. There it is, again and again and again. There I go again. My facade is just this amazing monster of a creation, and it's inside of me, and there I go again in it, instead of judging it.
Right, so God doesn't love it, but God has a feeling of just recognising it's the truth and understands why it's there.
No, see, you're mixing up my words in the first group as well. God is only capable of loving our real self. But God still loves what you can create. He designed you to create whatever you want to create. So he marvels at the fact that you created a facade. And he does. He goes, I'm such a wonderful creator giving this person free will. Now they can create this monster of their own. Isn't this amazing? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I thought you meant he can't love it, like the rejection.
He has compassion for it. He has compassion for how it was created. Remember yesterday afternoon we looked about how it's created. Many of you had to create it. See, this is what you're forgetting. You had to create it to survive. The world we live in as a child required the creation of your facade. You had to create it. God knows that. God's not silly. God knows all the pressures you were under to create it, all the pressure that was put on you. God knows all of the damage that was done to you as a child in order to create it. God knows all these things. God's not there going, I've got to punish her for the fact that when she was a little girl, this is what she was taught to do. God has compassion for the fact that you were taught to do it, and then eventually, because you were taught to do it, you eventually taught yourself to do it more. God knows that. So God knows the state of your facade better than you do right at this moment. And God has compassion for it. You don't have compassion for it. You judge it. You criticise it. Right? And it's stopping you from progressing. You've got to learn to stop hurting yourself about it. It is how it is. It's been created by a whole series of very bad events, all of which now, if you become aware, you'll want to try to reverse for the next generation, right? But it is how it is. It's like coming to see myself in this moment here in my facade. I've got to see all the warts. That's what I've got to do. I've got to see all the things I do that are out of harmony with love, all driven by this facade. Even blaming myself, punishing myself, blaming others, punishing others, justifying to myself, justifying to others, minimising for myself, minimising to others, excusing myself, excusing others. All of those actions are taken so that I can avoid accepting my facade. So I can avoid just going, no, the way it really is really bad. And it's in me. It's my monster that I've created, and I've been taught to create it. I was helped to create it. I was shown how to create it by other people who had already created it. And now I'm living it. You see? Yeah? Can you feel that? You feel you need compassion for it. Compassion for it. Not attacking it. It protected you as a child from death, most probably. At least from some very serious psychological damage. It protected you from. But it doesn't serve you now. You're adults. It can change. It doesn't serve you. Does that make sense? So the real state of it is to just let yourself feel what it feels like. To have all this terrible creation inside of oneself that other people taught you to create and that you then embellished the creation of and used my will. I used my will to create it. And I have to acknowledge that this is what I've done and get to the point where I can accept that this is what I've done and have compassion for the fact that it's what I've done and that I was almost forced or manipulated into doing. I was definitely manipulated and many times forced into doing it by the environment, society in which I grew up. Does that make sense, Laura? Yeah. Yeah. And it's such an important concept to get. This attitude towards this facade needs to be that attitude. So whenever I talk to the facade in you, what I get from you is, stay away from me, you evil man, right? That's what I get from you, right? But a person who's actually in the state of accepting their facade doesn't do that. They go, yeah, I can see that's what I'm doing, and also why I'm doing it, because I understand how that got created. I understand from yesterday afternoon, our discussion about the creation of the facade, how it got created, this terrible process that all of you went through, and every single child on this planet, unfortunately at the moment, usually goes through in order to create this monster of varying sizes. So you could think of it as a landscape where, some of them have got a little crouchy monster, other ones have got a big scary monster, other ones have got a little sneaky monster. And these are all the facade, right? They're all the facade. And your type of facade was assisted in its growth and actually trained in its growth from your childhood onwards by the society in which you grew up at the time. Does that make sense to you? Yeah. Have some compassion for it. It's a sad thing, isn't it, now that it exists? It's a sad thing it exists. We look at the state of our facade and we go, wow, what a mess. What a mess. And then we go, I've got to try and make out it's not a mess. When we're far better off just going, what a mess. What a mess. Do you see it? The attitude needs to change. Yeah? And already some of you are starting to feel some emotion about changing that, which is good.